morning again. We have the ratatouilles in the oven cooking, and we're going to go ahead and assemble a quick version of a white bean dish that's inspired by, I'll just make that very clear, it's inspired by a cassoulet. That is not a cassoulet by definition. Cassoulets traditionally would be a bean dish that's slow cooked with things like sausage and chicken, potentially duck confit, an enormous amount of fat, savory items, herbs and vegetables, and essentially the beans, as they slow cook, will absorb the fats into the bean, in a sense preserving them, but also just giving them an incredibly rich flavor. So we're just going to create an easy side dish that you can bake alongside your ratatouille, and you can serve it up together. So ingredients that I have here: the red onion, I've got fresh garlic, butter, a fair amount for the size of the dish. It's 1.5 ounces of butter, salt, a little bit of olive oil, parsley again, and this is andouille sausage. For those of you with the kids, this does have a little bit of spice to it. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the olive oil. I've got my pan on medium-high heat, and we're just going to add a little bit of olive oil just to get it going. And I'm going to start with the onion first, okay? So we're going to saute this onion. I don't know if any of you have ever worked with induction, but this technology for cooking is fantastic. In this dish, do not be afraid of fat, okay? That's the keystone base ingredients here. So I'm going to let the onion saute down, turn up my heat here a little bit. Then we're going to add the andouille sausage in this order. So andouille, and then the garlic, parsley, and then we're going to add the butter and allow the butter to melt down around those vegetables. Well, essentially because of the way the butter is going to deglaze them, and then we're going to add the beans. So, pretty simple dish. So, now, so andouille, I like typically this, with a smoked sausage of any type. Pork sausage is a nice option because of the natural fats that pork has. It's going to contribute to the flavor of the dish. I like andouille because it has sort of moderate spice. You can use anything you want, really. This type of dish really would have been, something they would throw together with anything they could find in the kitchen. So, all right. So, some of you might be wondering what type of pan this is. People asked me before, what's my preference for saute pans or for cooking on a stovetop. I like carbon steel. Many of you may have used these before. It has a lot of the characteristics of cast iron, but it's a little bit lighter, sort of a hybridization of a stainless steel pan and cast iron. So it has the non-stick qualities of cast iron, but it's light and very even cooking temperature, surfaces like stainless. So also incredibly durable. These pans will last for years. And price point, a pan like this is about $30. They're not terribly expensive. I typically try to avoid cooking in non-stick pans unless absolutely necessary, just for the issues surrounding sort of the chemicals they use in making them. So I'm going to go ahead and add this garlic. This is 3 cloves of garlic. I'm going to add 1/2 ounce of parsley. We're just going to let this saute a little bit with it and open up. You see the oil is absorbing into those onions. I'm going to go ahead at this point, I'm going to add the butter. Seems like a lot of butter, but it's going to taste good. You'll thank me for it. Don't be afraid of the butter. You see that the butter, because there's actually a lot of water moisture in here, it comes up, it helps to glaze the pan very nicely. Now, in a cooking situation in a restaurant, we would take butter and warm it up and separate it, take the whey out of it, and that leaves you with the pure butter fat, which in Indian cuisine they call ghee, and you can use that for sauteing or cooking, and just gives you something with a higher smoke point without all of this liquid, right? So, all right, we got a nice slurry of butter, fat, and onions going on here. All right, at this point I'm going to go ahead and add the beans. These are just a great northern bean. Traditionally, this would be used with a cannellini bean. It's a nice option. Really, you can do it with any kind of bean. I've done it with lentils. You want something that's going to hold its shape pretty well, not get mushy. That was 32 ounces of beans cooked. You can certainly do this with dry beans. It's going to take about 4 hours to cook in the oven if you do it with dry beans. So, all right, you can see that there's a pretty even dispersal of the meat and herbs and onion. It's kind of what we're looking for in comparison to the volume. There's not really a lot of butter in there. Waste not, want not, right? So I've waited to the end to salt this for a very specific reason. The andouille sausage transmits a fair amount of salt. Also, the pre-cooked canned beans carry a lot of salt as well. So in just tasting that, it doesn't need a whole lot. So I'm just going to add just a little bit to help pull the flavors out of the vegetables. So this dish right here, you can, it's ready to serve like it is, or if you want a little more rich flavor to it, you can put this into that low temperature oven and then just bake it right alongside the ratatouille we were doing earlier. So I'm going to go ahead and stick this in the oven, and there you have it.